Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. We are from group 2 and here I will introduce my group and with me Sonia and there is Tiara Sinaga and Umiati and we will read the answer of the text first of all from paragraph 1 and Tiara you turn.
Okay, Gerard leaned back on the flag table rack. It was too hot to pedal and he needed to conserve his energy. He had been lost at sea for the last 3 days. He was out of food and water, and he only had one emergency flare left. Yesterday he saw a plane pass overhead. He lighted two flares, hoping to attract the attention of the pilot. The plane did not turn around. Jared used the map he had salvaged from the wrecks as a makeshift phaser. He knew that continued exposure to the sun would kill him sooner than anything else. Then he saw a small blob on the horizon. He could do nothing but wait. 20 minutes later, the blob had grown to the shape of a yacht.
It appeared to be a cruise ship of some sort. It was about 500 yards away. Will Jared could see the yacht. It was unlikely that anyone on the cruise ship would see Jared's tiny craft from the distance. Jared knew he had to try anyway. He tied the sweater to his oar and began waving in the air. He was exhausted, but he mustered strength. As the yacht appeared to be sailing away, Jared made one last ditch effort and fired the emergency flare.
The small flare shot up about 20 feet in the air and popped. Jared lowered his head and dismayed. Then he heard a loud thud. The ship appeared to be turning. He heard the ship took its horn again and continued turning toward Jared. He jumped up and down in the life raft and continued waving the makeshift flag and he had constructed. What's even is most likely to occur next? My prediction from paragraph 1 is the ship approached Jared and saved him from being stranded. What evidence from the text support your prediction is the ship appeared to be turning. He heard the ship toot its horn again as they continued turning toward Jared. He jumped up and down in the life raft and continued waving the makeshift flag he had.
Mr. Mr. Fox pointed his weapon at Mr. Rabbit, who had already drawn on Mr. Fox. They stared into one other's eyes. It's measuring the other's intent. It doesn't have to go down this way, Mr. Fox said authoritatively to Mr. Rabbit. Mr. Rabbit smirked. You're right, Mr. Fox. You could just run away and let me keep the carrot patch. Now it was Mr. Fox who smiled, smirked. I don't think so, Rabbit. Not that easily. Anyway, Mr. Fox coolly announced. Mr. Rabbit snapped back at at him. Well, Fox, I guess we'll got stand up. Mr. Fox squinted at him and replied, yup, I guess so. Rabbit's finger tense on the tiger. A group of construction works were repairing his highway about 30 feet to the north. They dropped a large steel plate on the road with force. It came down with a crash that sounded like a gunshot. Number Number three. What event is most likely to occur next? Is Mr. Rabbit and Mr. Fox attack each other with gunshot because sentence said. Number four. What findings from the text supports your prediction? Is they dropped a large steel plate on the road with force. It came down with a crash that sounded like a gunshot.
Johnny was walking home on a cool day when the wind caught his hat and carried it out onto the lake. There was a thin layer of ice that covered the water. The hat sat on top of the ice layer, looking like the day that Johnny had had bought it. Johnny tested the ice with his toe. It seemed secure, but he could see the water at the edge of the ice. He carefully tiptoed across the set of ice to his hat and picked it up. As he did to the ice crack, a large set began drifting away. Johnny was surrounded by crack. He took another careful step, putting his weight directly on one of the cracks, and then what event is most likely to occur next? In my prediction is Johnny fell into a lake where the ice set had been cracked by itself. What evidence from the text support your predictions? In the sentence said, as he did so, the ice crack, a large set began drifting away. Johnny was surrounded by crack. He took another careful step, putting his weight directly on one of the crack, and then
Remember to study for the test tomorrow, Mrs. Claire said before dismissing her class. Lisa wrote the assignment in her notebook, but when she just wanted to break from school. So she watched TV a couple of hours later. Lisa knew that it was time to get to work, but first they would check her email. After another hours on the internet, Lisa noticed that it was getting late. She opened up the textbook. She began looking for the sorry. Lisa knew that it was time to get to work, but first she would check her email. After another hours on the internet, Lisa noticed that it was getting late. She opened up the textbook and she began looking for the chapter. Then her friend Jenna called. Bobby and Susie had broken up. Lisa couldn't believe it. She and Jenna talked about it for another hour. So now it was very late and Lisa was tired. She hung up with Jenna and turned to the chapter on the rock formation in the her science book. She began reading it. Her head felt a little woozy and bubbly. And then what's even most likely to occur next is my predicting is Lisa fall asleep. What evidence from the text support your prediction is she hung up with Jenna and turned to the chapter on the rock formation in her science book. She began reading it. Her head felt a little woozy, wobbly, and then blah, blah, blah. Tiara, you.
Okay, wait. Mr. Nibbles kissed his family and left his hold in the world. It was time for him to go to work. His mom's family was counting on him. He slipped into the pantry and found a few cookie crumbs. He nibbled them up quickly. He was looking for something more substantial, something that could fit them all. Then he spotted it. It was a large wedge of sweet cheese. It was just waiting for him on a planter. The planter, afraid to be on some type uh, of cat, pulled the pies. But Mr. Nibbles didn't really understand engineering. If Mr. Nibbles were literal, he might have not noticed he worked on the side of the cat pulled the files that said most killer 5,000 reliable most rate. But Mr. Neighbors was not literate. He walked over to the piece of cheese, grabbed it with his teeth, and number nine, what even is most likely to occur next. Mr. My prediction from paragraph 5 is Mr. Nibble got count in a most straight because the sentence said, what if the signs from the text supports your prediction? Is if Mr. Neighbors were literate, he might have noticed the words on the side of the cat pulled the pies that said most killer 5,000 reliable most rate. But Mr. Neighbors was not literate. He walked over to the piece of cheese, grabbed it with his teeth.
Okay, I think enough for this video. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.